की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिराजकाचार्य स्तोत्ररचित श्री मद श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। हरे कृष्ण। Please repeat after me. Tata aham subhru bhavatya premayantrita atmanam atmanam na abhijanami mohita tava mayaya tataham kripana subhru bhavatya premayantrita atmanam nabhijanami mohitastava mayaya tataham kripana subhru bhavatya premayantrita atmanam nabhijanami mohitastava mayaya tataham kripana subhru bhavatya premayantrita atmanam nabhijanami mohitastava mayaya. Please repeat. Tataham bhavatya premayantrita mohitastava mayaya tataham kripana subhru Patitha atmanam nabhijanami aham kripana subhru tataham kripana subhru Mataji's. Word by word translation. Tata, exactly like the he-goat. Aham, I. Kripana, a miser with no sense of the importance of life. Subhru, oh my wife with beautiful eyebrows. Bhavatya, in your company. Premayantritaha, as if tied in love, although it is actually lust. Atmanam, self-realization, what I am and what my duty is. Na abhijanami, I could not realize even until now. Mohita, being bewildered. Tava, your. Mayaya, by the materially attractive feature. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Oh, my dear wife with beautiful eyebrows, I am exactly like the he-goat, like that he-goat, for I am so poor in intelligence that I am captivated by your beauty and have forgotten the real task of self-realization. Purport. If one remains a victim of the so-called beauty of his wife, his family life is nothing but a dark well. Hitvatmapatam grihamandakupam. Existence in such a dark well is certainly suicidal. If one wants relief from the miserable condition of material life, one must voluntarily give up his lusty relationship with his wife. Otherwise, there is no question of self-realization. Unless one is extremely advanced in spiritual consciousness, household life is nothing but a dark well in which one commits suicide. Prahlad Maharaj therefore recommended that in due time, at least after one's 50th year, one must give up household life and go to the forest. Vadam gato yat dharim ashrayeta. Therefore, there, one should seek shelter at the lotus feet of Hari. Om Agyanatimirandasya Jnananjana Sadakaya Chakshudurmritamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttaf Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Vragnatamritam Stam Shadivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Gurujana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Larita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Kupika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Karpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasada Bhutale Srimati Jayapataka Swami Tunamine Namacharya Padaya Nitagripa Vedayine Gaura Gadadhamadaya Nagra Kramadhanine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasada Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tunamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudamani Pujarine Vishesha Shunya Hari Pasha Jarisatarine Vagisha Yasavadane Lakshmi Yashacha Vaksasi Yasya Sirhirare Samvit Dhamnishimanam Bhaje Hare Krishna. Thank you everybody for being present during Bhagavatam class, although it's raining outside, and for those who live outside, it's it's a bit of a difficulty to come to the temple, but still you're here during Bhagavatam class. It's wonderful. It's amazing. It's the most wonderful thing in this world. Actually, Yamaraj in the form of a yaksha asked King Yudhisthira, what is the most wonderful thing in this world? And you all may know this, it's from the Mahabharata. And King Yudhisthira intelligently answers that the most wonderful thing in this world is that everybody is dying. So many people are dying daily, but yet they still think that they will continue to live forever. And, such a position is like, that of the he-goat and the she-goat, or the he-hog and the she-hog who simply enjoy sex life, not caring for, what will come after death. Simply living life only to enjoy their senses. Toiling hard day and night, working, going here, going there. Within the West, they drive at breakneck speeds. So they probably used to say that, that they drive breakneck speeds, shoom, shoom, like this and that. What is their business? Only for sex life. Actually, it all boils down to only for sex life, only for the titillation of the genitals, just for this, one moment's flickering happiness. They, undergo so much austerities. What's that? Kripana Dhurna Jana. This, what's the first part? Eina Yamini Dhagure. Pifala Sevino, Kripana Dhurna Jana. Chapala Sukalava Lagire. That I've spent my life, usually, working hard day and night. Shita Atapa Vata Verishana. With, day and night in the cold, and the blazing heat of the summer and rain, this and that, going from this place to another simply to accumulate wealth, money, which is describing the Bhagavatam as more sweeter than honey. People are all after this money and sense gratification, and they do all this under the guidance of visually and wicked men. That their whole entire life is dependent on some beef eater and drunkard whose only business is to exploit you. And one's whole family, his dependence, his wealth, his house, his griha, ata, atogriha, shata, shatapta, virte, all of these things are all dependent on some person who's wicked and miserly, and who's the kripana, a miser who with no sense of the importance of life. Everybody is going on this way. 99.9% of the human population is going on in this way, with no real assurance in life. They have no understanding what they're in after, when their death comes. For those who do not serve the lotus feet of Yashoda Sutta, Ebe Bhajile Yashoda Sutta, Charme Bodhi Beard, that how this, for those who do not serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, then their death is actually very, very troublesome. It's a very, very dark destination. For one who's a servant of the Lord, his death is actually very, very pleasant. Such a circumstance is like compared to the kitten in the mouth of a cat. It's that the mouth of a cat for a mouse is actually very, very fearsome. It's very, very horrific. It's but that same mouth of the cat, for one who's completely dependent on the mother cat, is like the most safest place in the universe for the little kitten. It's but for those persons who do not take shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Hari, Guru and the Vaishnavas, then such a mouth is actually the most fearful thing in this world. And everybody is so afraid of death. If you ask anybody in this world, are you afraid of death? Only fools and rascals will say no, unless they're Vaishnavas. So, Srila Prabhupada translates this nice verse. So this is King Yayati speaking to his wife, Oh, my dear wife with beautiful eyebrows, I am exactly like that he-goat. For I am so poor in intelligence that I am captivated by your beauty and have forgotten the real task of self-realization. For those who are too enamored by the beauty of his wife or of women, then it is very, very difficult to make progress on the path of self-realization. It's a very unfortunate situation that everybody is attracted to this beauty of the woman. Who is there that is not attracted to the beauty of a woman? Anybody knows? Lord Kapila Dev says that only Narayan himself is actually not enamored by this beauty. That Lord Brahma himself is, captivated also by this beauty. He even chased after his own daughter. Lord Brahma himself, the creator of this whole cosmic manifestation, he's the architect of this whole universe. He himself has created these women, but he himself is attached. So what to speak of little jivas like us? So therefore Srila Prabhupada used to say that every single day I pray to the Lordships that I don't fall down. He can never fall down because he's a topmost Vaishnava. But still, he's teaching us how we should constantly be very attentive on his path of self-realization, because his path of self-realization is compared to a razor's edge. It's a very, very sharp and thin edge, and one must be very, very attentive constantly on his path of devotional service to not slip up or not make mistakes. Don't give any room for Maya. Because the moment you give one small little crevice, one small space for Maya to enter, then gradually she'll start entering more and more to that small little space. Curiosity kills the cat, they say. When you let when you let the mind slip up once with even one small thing, then gradually over time it'll start slipping up on more bigger things and more bigger things. So therefore one must be very, very careful not to be attracted by the beautiful eyebrows of the women. So therefore the instruction is given to those who are practicing brahmacharya, and also for those who are serious on the path of self-realization, that one should not look into the eyes of the woman. So therefore, then the question comes, well, we're preaching, we go out for collection or book distribution, and there's so many women now we have to speak with, and some are young and very, very beautiful. What do we do? Therefore, we should never look into the eyes directly. We should always look at the forehead at least, but never look directly into the eyes, because the eyes are compared to sharp arrows, and the eyebrows are compared to bows. And if one is pierced by these eyebrows and these bows by the eyes, then it'll be a very precarious situation. It'll be within a matter of time, one will start looking into, he will start seeing that this is, actually meant for my enjoyment. This is not to be meant for the service of Krishna. So therefore, whoever we meet, whoever we speak with, we should think that this person is a servant of Krishna. It's a spirit soul, and this person is coming to give some service to Krishna by giving some Lakshmi or things like that. We should never think that I am the doer. Bhakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvesha. Ahankara vidur vimuratma kartaham iti manyate. That those who think that they are the doer, that I am collecting, I'm going here and there and doing so many wonderful things, doing so much wonderful arrangement like this, is actually overcome by false ego, not understanding that actually it is Krishna doing all these things. So, for I am so poor in intelligence, Yati is saying that I am captivated by your beauty and have forgotten the real task of self-realization. So if one remains a victim of the so-called beauty of his wife, then his family life, Srila Prabhupada says, is nothing but a dark well. These dark wells are not so, these dark wells are actually covered over by very beautiful green grass. The Mataji may look very, very pretty, very, very humble, and ready for service and everything. It says that association with women starts when one accepts service from them. And in this way, the association develops gradually and gradually. And one is walking here and there, and he's not noticing that actually this woman is that his family life is nothing but a dark well. Hitvatma patam grihamanda kupam. Existence in the dark well is certainly suicide. But if one wants to be relieved from this miserable condition, Prabhupada is saying, he must give up this attachment to his lusty, he must give up this lusty attachment to his wife. So therefore, our only real hope is to actually become completely Krishna conscious, to actually engage all our family members within the service of Krishna, to understand that actually I am not a grihasta, I am not a brahmachari, I am not a vanaprastha, I'm not a sannyasi, I'm not a shudra, a vaishya, a kshatriya, I'm not a brahmana, but I'm a jivara swarupa hoy krishnena nityadhas. Krishnera tatasya sakti bheda bheda prakash. I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. Because if one thinks I'm a grihastha or I'm brahmachari, then one would develop this mentality, then I'm the controller of this mat or this house, this is my wife, this is... But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that one should see all these things in relationship to Krishna, how this wife is actually, Krishna Dasi, that she's actually a servant of Krishna. And Krishna has given me this wife so that I can actually serve her in such a way that she can make spiritual advancement, that whatever I do in my life should be a means, not only for myself to make spiritual advancement, but also for my family to also make progress on the path of Krishna consciousness or devotional service. So, Srila Prabhupada makes a very, very important and heavy statement. Unless one is extremely advanced in spiritual consciousness, household life is nothing but a dark well in which one commits suicide. If one falls into a deep, dark well, what hope is there for them to get out? So if one is not extremely advanced in Krishna consciousness, what hope is there for them to take vanaprastha when the time comes? For one who is not cultivating this Krishna consciousness at the beginning of life or of marriage, then when the time comes, when that time comes to leave household life, it'll be very, very difficult. But one should cultivate Krishna consciousness in a very, very with tivrana, with firm conviction, with firm faith, following the rules and regulations very, very strictly, following the orders of the spiritual master, which is compared to the rope that is inside this deep dark well, which is the only hope actually to get out of this deep dark well, are the instructions of the spiritual master, which one should grab very, very firmly. And then, by the mercy of the spiritual master, when he's pleased by the sincere disciple who's sincerely trying to serve him, then he pulls out his disciple from this deep dark well of material life. I've written down so many notes, and I haven't even made or read even one of them. Sorry. Lust for one's wife actually makes one completely mad. If we see even in the case of Indradev, who was so attached to his wife, especially Sachi Mata, that he was completely blinded because of this lust, because his wives were so beautiful. He's the emperor of, the king of heaven. And Krishna came to take a parijata tree for his dear wife Rukmini, or Satyabhama. And King Indra was so infuriated, so enraged, that he went and attempted to attack the Supreme Lord, who previously was chastised by Krishna at Govardhan Lila. So within the same life, he actually understood that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has, chastised me for punishing the inhabitants of Rajabhumi, but he was still overcome and blinded by this lust over his beautiful wives. He was so much attracted by the beautiful eyebrows of his wife that he completely forgot that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And, he was even cursed once to take birth as a he-hog, as a pig. And he completely forgot his whole duty of, his whole previous situation of being the king of heaven. He was so attached to his, his she-hog and the she-piglets and the he-piglets, that Lord Brahma came himself and told Indra in the form of a hog that, what are you doing trying to enjoy as a hog? You're the king of heaven. You have so much opulence at your disposal. You have so much enjoyment. What are you doing here? Simply enjoying stool. You're having sex with your wife, your children. What is this nonsense? But he was still attached to his beautiful she-hog. Even the form of hogs have attachment for their beautiful wives. What to speak of us? So Lord Brahma actually killed his sons, his little piglets, and said, now you have no children, so come back with me, back to the kingdom of heaven. And he was like, no, I still have my wife, so I can reproduce many more children. I don't want to go back. So then, until Lord Brahma killed his she-hog, then he understood, oh, now I'm, I got nothing now. So he came to his sense. So that's why one should leave family life. Srila Prabhupada says that is the instruction of Prahlad Maharaj, not just of Srila Prabhupada, but all our previous acharyas, even up to Prahlad Maharaj, who's therefore recommending in due time, at least at one's 50th year, one must give up household life and go to the forest. Vanapras means taking complete shelter of Krishna. And in order to do that, it is very, very conducive that one leaves family life. Because as long as one is enamored by the beautiful eyebrows of his wife, then what hope is there for him to practice Krishna consciousness? He has so much obligations at home, his wife, his children, his land, so much responsibilities. How much time is there to think of Krishna? The instruction is that one should think of Krishna 24 hours a day. But if one is still at home, there's so much things that one has to think of, take care of. So how is it possible for one to completely develop Krishna consciousness in this kind of atmosphere? So therefore, it's recommended that one should take Vanaprast, at least at the age of 50. So the great householders, actually, Lord Kapila Dev, in his in a purport, Srila Prabhupada says that great householders actually prayed to God for a bona fide representative, to send him a son who would be a great personality, who would come and spread this cult of Krishna consciousness all over the world. Srila Prabhupada says that there's two types of son. You guys all know this. Mutra, right? And Putra. Is it? That one son is born, that both types of sons are both born from the genitals, but one is compared to urine and the other is compared to, Paka devotee. Son who's striving for self-realization is a good son. But one who's simply a kripana, one who does not understand the importance of spiritual life, then he's considered a mutra. But also, Srila Prabhupada makes a beautiful comment how in the same purport where he says that great householders actually should pray to God to send a bona fide representative so that there may be an auspicious movement within human society. He makes the point also that there's two types of good sons. Anybody know of these? I just found this out yesterday also. Anybody know? Two types of good sons. Srila Prabhupada in his purport, in the 3rd canto, 22nd chapter, 19th verse, he says there's two kinds of children born of good fathers. One who is educated and goes back to Godhead. So that child who actually is not a kripana, but who actually strives for self-realization and takes the importance of this human form of life and goes back to Godhead is the first kind of good son. The second good son, which Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur prayed for Raya Vishnu. And he's saying that the second kind of good son is he who teaches the world about the ultimate goal of life, or that son who becomes an acharya, who completely dedicates his life, not just for his own self-realization. He doesn't become a Bhajananandi, but he becomes a Goshananandi. He becomes such a great personality that he makes many, many followers, and he brings them all to the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to help him spread this Krishna consciousness movement. So therefore, we should actually teach our children at the very tender age of childhood to actually become acharya. We should aim for the rhino. There's no harm in trying to bring our children up to such a level. But at least if they attain self-realization and go back to Godhead, that's also amazing. So, staying in family life is not only bad for the husband, but is also bad for the wife. Because the wife is said to achieve the destination of the husband. So if the husband doesn't achieve a high destination in spiritual life, but is too attached to the beautiful eyebrows of the wife, and is too attached to wife, home, woman, wealth, bank balance, these things, then the wife would not be able to attain a higher destination unless she becomes a very paka devotee. So therefore, the instructions are all women become very, very, paka devotees, pure Vaishnavas, and actually encourage their husbands to take Vanapras, to, completely dedicate his life, his, end years in the service of Krishna, so that he can fully be in complete consciousness of Krishna. Also, it is bad for the children, seeing that the dad has stayed home his whole life, he lived a nice life, and these things. So also, the children will follow the example of the father. So the father should also understand that it is not just me who is not benefited. He may think he's achieving real happiness by, enjoying his beauty with his wife and the sweet talks with his children and, nice food. But he should understand that, if he does not, follow the instructions of Prahlad Maharaj in a Bhagavatam and of our previous acharyas who have all led amazing, pure lifestyles and examples for us to follow, then our destination is very, very fearsome. We don't know what we will do. Actually, the instruction of the spiritual master is this only. Well, so many instructions are there, but also one of his instructions is that one should seek shelter at the lotus feet of Hari by going to Vrindavan at one's fag end of life. So if one fails to follow this instruction, then yasya prasada bhagavat prasada yasya prasada nagati kotopi, that if he displeases the spiritual master by not following his instructions, then his destination is unknown, nagati kotopi. One would not know where his destination will be. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur compares his family life, there's attraction to family life, to high mountains which are filled with sharp thorns. Becoming happy, or the attempt to become happy in their association, is like a hungry man's endeavoring to climb a mountain full of thorns. You gotta just imagine a big, heavy man who's really, really hungry, who is, whose only duty is, how can I satisfy my belly? How can I live to eat? How much trouble he will be if he has to climb a mountain full of thorns just to, satisfy himself. It's very, very painful. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is comparing one who's attached to family life like this. Family life without Krishna consciousness, without, if one is not extremely advanced in spiritual consciousness, then household life is like this actually. Household life is compared to a big mountain full of thorns, and one is trying to climb up this big tall mountain simply to satisfy his hunger. One is trying to satisfy his wife, his children in so many ways, but one is not able to do so. Still, they're not unsatisfied. Srila Prabhupada purports on this that almost 99.9% of the population is unhappy in family life, despite all the attempts being made to satisfy the family members. Even Srila Prabhupada himself comments that his whole life he tried to satisfy his wife and his children. And he even asked his wife to take Vanapras, but she said, no, you still have not done your duty properly. How can you leave yet? He was 58 when he took Vanapras. He was 58. He got married at the age of 23, and his wife, Radharani Datta, was 11 years old. And he spent his whole life working so hard to maintain his family, to satisfy his family, and still at the age of 58, she was still not satisfied with all the service. So, Srila Prabhupada, in a purport of the third canto, 24th chapter, 41st verse, he comments, going to the forest is compulsory for everyone. It is not a mental excursion upon which one person goes and another does not. This is not like a video game. It's not that one person goes and sees how he does and maintains his life, but if he's not satisfied, if one householder sees that this person didn't take, this person didn't take Vanapras, so why should I take Vanapras? No. Prabhupada said that this is not a mental excursion upon which one person goes and another does not. He says that everyone should go to the forest, at least at Vanapras. Forest means to take 100% shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that forest may be this forest, that forest, this ashram, that ashram, but one must go to the forest. Srila Prabhupada recommends that the best forest is Vrindavan forest. He says that I have built this Krishna Balaram Mandir with so much effort. I have put so much blood, sweat, and tears in his ashram, in his Krishna Balaram temple, so that all the sannyasis, all the Vanapras can take shelter in our beautiful guest house, which has been built for them, and completely dedicate their life to Krishna. And so many good examples are still now present as Prabhupada disciples. Still, there's Dina Bandhu Prabhu is there, He's, Bhagavatam Pras, he's an amazing Vaishnav. I got the opportunity to serve him, and he's always going to this place, traveling, preaching about the passings of Krishna, speaking about Krishna consciousness. His life is complete bliss. One may think that one is losing something by leaving his family, that one would lose his, children, his wife, his affection, but one would only be the gainer. Srila Prabhupada said that I had lost a few sons, but I have gained, so many sons in the form of disciples, so many daughters, so many sons. One would not be the loser, but he would be the gainer by actually taking this responsibility of leaving household life. It may not be easy, but one should be just like the chick. Once a chick grows up, as soon as his wings are able to fly, as soon as the baby bird is able to fly, he immediately leaves. Do you guys know that? Once a baby bird grows up and is able to fly, it just leaves the nest like nothing. One should leave household life, so the Prabhupada says in his purport to that verse, that one should leave his household life just like the baby bird. Once it becomes 50, once it's nicely developed, that one has felt sufficiently like he has, satisfied his desires. Actually, one would never satisfy his desires, no matter how much you try to satisfy him. Just like pouring ghee on a fire, it would never, become less. It'll always increase. So therefore, by force, Prabhupada says that if one does not leave the attachment to his family life by force, then, or voluntarily, by his own force, I'm saying, then he will be taken away by the force of death. So anyways, you have to leave family life regardless. So why not do it voluntarily? Prabhupada said it's much easier for both family members, for the family, for the husband, the wife, the children, if one leaves voluntarily rather than leaving by force, by death. Srila Prabhupada actually purports in the 4th canto, 29th chapter, 54th verse, that Prahlad recommends to his father that accepting Vanaprastha life would be better than going deeper and deeper into Grihamandagupa. Imagine Prahlad Maharaj telling Hiranyakashipu, who had so much sense enjoyment at his disposal, he was so powerful that his eyebrow, by the twinkling of his eyebrow, just he raised one eyebrow, the demigods would shake in fear. And he's saying that oh my dear father, what are you doing in this Grihamandakupam? You're suffering in this material well of family life. Take Vanaprastha. Imagine Prahlad Maharaj telling this father, he's just a 5-year-old boy. He says, the blind well of life as a Grihastha is so he says, in our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore invite all elderly persons of this world to come to Vrindavan and stay here in retired life, make an advancement in spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. To give up a comfortable home and to give up a comfortable home life is absolutely necessary for a human being, and is advised here by Prahlad Maharaj. To finish the materialistic way of life, one should leave his so-called comfortable home life. So one may ask the question, it's a popular question or statement nowadays in our movement, that why do I have to take Vanaprastha? I'm here, going to the temple regularly, I'm, chanting Hare Krishna, my family is devotees, I'm here practicing Krishna consciousness, sincerely, I'm trying my best to become Krishna conscious. And Srila Prabhupada also said that if one is a famous purport in the Bhagavad Gita, he says that if one is, fully Krishna conscious, actually this word, Prabhupada puts fully Krishna conscious in family life, then one can stay in family life happy, his whole family is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he's completely Krishna consciousness. So there won't be any need for him to leave family life. But Prabhupada says, unless one is extremely advanced in spiritual consciousness, household life is but a dark well. And even if we are advanced in Krishna consciousness, even if we are pure devotees, we should still set the example for others. Just look at Srila Prabhupada, what need he had to come to the West. What need he had to leave Vrindavan. But simply on the order of his spiritual master, he gave up everything. Because he was that good son who became the Acharya, who saved all of us in this material world, who is still saving all of us through his bona fide representatives and through his, Srila Bhaktivedanta purports. So therefore, it's compulsory that everyone, not just one person, not this person, not this amazing elevated Paramahamsa who left, everyone should set the example for others. One should, at the end of life, be completely dependent on Krishna. That if I leave home, Krishna would fully reciprocate with me, and he would fully give me complete shelter. Anukulyasa sankarpa pratikulyasa varjanam rakshashatiti vishwaso. One should have complete conviction that Krishna is my maintainer, Krishna is my protector. Not my bank balance, not my wife, not my children. One should have this firm faith, and one should perform devotional service favorably. Favorably means not staying home at the fag end of one's life, attached to his beautiful wife and his children, and his, saying, oh, mommy, daddy, not being 50 years old and having a child at the age of 50 years old. Yes, this is still happening in our movement. My own god brother, at the age of 50, is still begetting children. But because he's impotent, or because he was at old age, he had a daughter. So, would you know it is best to have a son? Because the son can perform, what do you call this? This is Vedic sacrifices to help to, Shraddha ceremony, to help deliver the father, because who really knows if we're going to go back to Godhead or attain this kind of destination. So we should have a son. We should pray to Krishna, as Prabhupada is saying, is that a Pakka Grihastha should pray for a son who become self-realized, or at least, or to pray for a son to become an acharya, or at least pray to become self-realized. So, one should just try to understand. Srila Kapila Deva is saying to his mother Devahuti that just try to understand the powerful strength of my Maya in the form of woman, that by the mere movement of her eyebrows can keep even the greatest conquerors of the world under her grip. One should not be attracted to the beautiful eyebrows of the woman, but should be attracted by the beautiful eyebrows of Krishna, which in the Bhagavatam is described as, for one who's meditating on the beautiful eyebrows of Krishna, one can become free from lust and any endeavor to enjoy material objects. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that the beautiful face of Krishna, that his face is the enjoying king. The full moon face makes his shark-shaped earrings and lotus eyes dance. His eyebrows are like bows. His eyes are like arrows. His ears are fixed. His ears are fixed on the string of that bow. And when his eyes are spread to his ears, he pierces the hearts of the devotees. By becoming attracted to the eyes of Krishna, he pierces our hearts, which is, being overcome by so much hankering after this, sex life, this sex enjoyment. He pierces that desire with his beautiful eyes. And only by the mercy of Sri Madan Mohan, by Sri Sri Gonitai, and by Srila Prabhupada and his bona fide representatives, one can conquer this formidable enemy known as lust. Man and woman should live together as householders in relationship with Krishna. Here's a purport in 3rd Canto, 31st chapter, 42nd verse, that one should live in a household in a relationship with Krishna only for the purpose of discharging duties in the service of Krishna. Engage the children, engage the wife, and engage the husband, all in Krishna consciousness duties. And then all these bodily and material attachments will disappear. Since the medium is Krishna, the consciousness is pure and there is no possibility of degradation at any time. But still, as we see in the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the Kurma Brahmana who went to Kurma Kshetra, he said that this Kurma Brahmana wanted to go with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and travel and leave his family life. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, don't leave family life. Stay here and serve your family, because now you're a devotee. Now you can properly serve your family. Oh my God, there's so much nice points I want to make, but there's not much time. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told his Brahmana, Yada deka tarakaha Krishna upadesh agyara agyana agyana gudahana tare desh. That he says that you simply speak to Krishna, whoever you may speak and preach these principles of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And then in the next verse he says, Kabuna vadive tomar vishaya taranga punarapi eitani pare mora sangha. That by following these principles, by preaching this Krishna consciousness movement, that you would not be afflicted by these material influences, but you would not be affected by this attraction to family life, but you will actually regain my association in due course. So for those who are always engaged in spreading this Krishna consciousness movement, even while in family life, then he is always living in the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's always living in the association with Srila Prabhupada. You can play this one thing now? Would it be possible? I just want to play one more thing. There's many amazing things I had to say, but time is very short. And I found this one important, this one audio clip of Srila Prabhupada when he was taking sannyas. It's a 12-minute clip, but we're just going to hear the first minute or two of it, if that's okay with you. You have it? Please forgive me for going on. I wanted to ask for a question.
One has to accept the renounced order from another person who is in renounced order. So, I never thought that I shall accept this renounced order of life. In my family life, when I was in the midst of my wife and children, sometimes I was dreaming my spiritual master that he is calling me, and I was falling. When my dream was over, I was thinking, I was a little horrified. Oh, Guru Maharaj wants me to become sannyas. How can I accept sannyas? At that time, I was feeling not very satisfaction that I have to give up my family and I have to become a mendicant. At that time it was a horrible feeling. Sometimes I was thinking, no, I cannot take sannyas. But again I saw the same dream. So in this way, I was fortunate. My Guru Maharaj pulled me up from this material life. I have not lost anything. You are so kind upon me. I have gained. I left 3 children. I have got now 300. So I am not leaving.
So if we're as fortunate as Srila Prabhupada is, that if our spiritual master comes to us in a dream and tells us to take vanaprastha, to take sannyas, that'll be very, very sweet. But unfortunately, that will not happen to all of us. So we should take the example of Srila Prabhupada and leave family life when the time comes. Not leave it unmaturely, not leave it out of frustration. Because this is Margata Vairagya. This is monkey renunciation. Just out of frustration, out of family life, he's completely distressed that he leaves family life. Then he goes to Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada says, and then catches some woman there. No, but one should take proper vanaprastha at the due course of time. Okay, is it proper to ask for questions, or should I end there? I don't, whatever. Sorry, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. That's all your mercy, Prabhu. I've been serving you these past few, weeks, and it's really because of you. Anybody want any? No? No questions? Any questions? Okay. Hare Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nanta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.